All right, everybody, this is Zane with Sailing Views, and I have Victor Diaz de Leon here. And I'll be honest, we just did this interview, and I forgot to hit record, so this is a redo. So I'm sure Victor's loving me right now, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Victor is like the kingmaker. He's won J20 or J70 Worlds, Melges 20 World. I don't know what all he's won, but he's in every big boat event, winning just about everything. So
you're giving me too much credit, Zane. I've only won one World, but I'm working on more.
Oh yeah, well, it seems like you're always on a winning boat. So
seems like I get second a lot.
All right, so let's get back to this question. What age did you get started, and who were your influences, and how'd you get started into sailing?
Yeah, I would have to say my biggest influence that got me started was my dad. He took me racing on his racer cruiser, and right away I loved it. All the adrenaline, chaos, people yelling. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and then when I was 7, a Nopti showed up. My dad and his friend decided, hey, let's get Victor sailing, and they got this Opti with holes on the bow. It was all beat up, but it was perfect for getting going. And then I got super into it. And my dad, his business was a boatyard back home, so he took the boat to the boatyard, and the guys there fixed it all up, and it looked awesome. We named it Tornado with the cool graphics, and it was really heavy after that. There's a lot of gel coat and extra fiberglass. But yeah, I really loved the feeling of being out there on my own. I remember when I sailed with my dad, I always begging for a better job. Hey, Dad, come on, when are you gonna let me do something good here? When are you gonna give me a good job on the boat? I said, okay, well, bring my beer. That's the most important job. Oh my God. So all of a sudden I was doing all the jobs. I could drive, I could trim. So yeah, I really enjoyed it and kept at it.
I gotcha. All right. So who were some of the early coaches, or did you have any, or
Yeah, one of the coaches that had the biggest influence in my sailing and also in my life was Umberto Costanzo. He's an Italian immigrant that came to Venezuela after World War II. And he fell in love with sailboat racing, and he was a sailor because his folks were fishermen, and they, back then they used to fish by sail rather than by, with a motor. So he knew how to sail, but then fell in love with racing, and then did a ton of sailing of his own, shoalings. He had a Sparkman Stevens big boat, like 80-footer, and then I remember everyone talked about this in Venezuela, that he was so into racing that he was an architect. So he made these, all these drawings and chopped the stern, because he had a mezzanine. I think you call it in English the mezzanine.
Mezzanine.
And that was not good for the rating. So he chopped the stern off and where the mezzanine was. And then the rating was a lot better. And then he went and won Antigua Race Week.
Huh.
He was a real fighter. And he was an amazing guy. Painter, writer, sculptor, architect.
And obviously a good sailing coach.
And a great sailing coach, yeah. He was just a really good motivator and taught me really great values, and about hard work, and about if you really desire something, you can do it. You just have to work really hard, and if you want to be the best, you just got to work really hard, and you never know when someone might be working harder than you, so you just got to really give it your best.
Yeah.
When I was 11 or 10 or 11 years old, he was in his mid-80s. So it was a really cool experience to interact with a guy that has lived so much at such a young, me being at such a young age. And he never went in the water with me. He would just watch me from shore. He would explain sailing physics and sailing theories, and I would just go out there and figure it out on my own. And then we would come out, and I would come back and debrief with him, and figure out what worked, what didn't work.
Yeah. Well, that's always, having someone to just give you the theories and let you learn on your own, I think is kind of an important thing. So when did you figure out that you were a good sailor, or that you wanted to go further with it? What age did you just go, I'm good, let's do this?
I remember one event when I was 7 years old. I went to the Nationals, and in Venezuela they have the A fleet, the Opti A fleet, which means 13 years old and above, and the B fleet, which means 12 years old and below. And this was my first Nationals, and I trained every day. I was so, and I had no idea how I was going to do. I thought, oh, I'll see all the best guys. And I went there, and I ended up getting, I think, third place in the B fleet, or maybe second place, but I did really well. And I was only 7 years old. And I remember there was one race that I was in second in the overall standings within the race, behind my idol that was the best guy back then. And my dad was out there watching, and I went around the windward mark in second place, and I let the main sheet go and the tiller go, and I stood up. I said, "Dad, look, I'm in second place."
That is
and,
great. Yeah, he's like, "No, pay attention."
But, yeah, my dad was like, "Keep sailing." But I think that was the time that I realized that I could maybe be good at this, and then from then on, I always wonder if I was good enough to be one of the best. So, it felt to me like I had to find out, and the way to find out was working hard and say, well, am I gonna be one of the best guys? I got to find out. I'm not sure. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But if I don't try, I'm never gonna know. So I think that's probably been my motivation. Just find out.
To find out
how well I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your favorite place to sail? Because you live in Miami, and I know you do a lot of traveling. So.
Yeah, I think I would always say my favorite place to sail is where I grew up. There's a particular wave there that makes it just really fun to sail downwind. It's perfect to connect waves. They're not too close together where you hit the wave in front, and they're not too far apart where it's hard to connect from one wave to the other. And from my sailing school, where I grew up, it was known that the sunfish sailors from there, when they went to the World Championships, were going to be really fast downwind. Eduardo is really fast downwind. Mm-hmm. My friend Marks, that did really well in the sunfish, was really fast downwind. I think it has to do with the right amount of fetch. There's some islands, that they're like 7 miles upwind of where we sail, and maybe the depth of the bay. It's not too deep, but not too shallow either. It just makes it really fun to sail downwind with a wave pattern, wave size. But there are other places that I really enjoyed sailing. I really enjoyed Japan, and I really enjoyed Miami. Sailing in Miami, offshore, off South Beach, is really nice. I would like to do that more. Maybe see more regattas be held there.
Yeah. Now I know they seem to come and go there, and moving boats outside. Other than logistics, everybody loves it. The logistics makes everything a little difficult. But all right, so let's talk about your favorite boat. What is your favorite boat, and why?
I think that's an easy pick for me. That's going to be the Moth. It's really fun and exhilarating to sail even on your own. I sailed so many days in that boat without a training partner or a coach, and I had an absolute blast. It's really challenging. Tacking is very challenging. Jiving is challenging. It's very tweaky, and sometimes you change something and the speed difference or the performance difference is very apparent. So that's really fun, and the racing is just off the charts. You're hauling ass in close proximity with a ton of other boats, and it's hard to beat. The adrenaline gets going pretty good. Any sailboat that gets you going with the adrenaline, I think it's going to be a good one. But I also like the team aspect of sailing keelboats, and I think it's a really good opportunity to sail with people that are more experienced than you. And I think a lot of my sailing improvements or my sailing skills come from sailing with guys that are really, really good and are better, and then you can see what they do, ask them questions, and be curious about why they do things. So,
Yeah. All right. So where do you see sailing going in the future?
well, I think the foiling revolution is, is
It's
is
taking over.
something that
Yeah.
yeah, it's taking over, and I think foiling is going to be more accessible to you know um,
Just more
all
people.
sorts of
Yeah.
sailors, and I think it's going to be the norm going forward.
Yeah.
Um,
How long did it take you to foil? I mean, did you spend a lot of time swimming, or did you jump in and instantly get it figured out?
it didn't take me that long. I remember I went sailing in the Keys, and I jibed in front of the yacht club when everyone was resting. After, they were sailing all day, and I didn't have a boat yet. My boat hadn't arrived, so I borrowed my friend's boat, Ainsley's boat. I borrowed her boat, and I started foiling, and then I went by and did a foiling jibe in front of the club, and I just remember everyone was impressed. That was funny. Um,
All
but
right.
yeah, it's not so hard. Maybe being a smaller guy, it's easier to move around a moth. But um, if you've been sailing, your whole life is not very hard. And I think boats are getting more and more user friendly. And the moths right now, the control systems are so precise, and
Yeah.
they're so advanced. It makes it pretty easy to sail.
Agreed.
Moths nowadays are a lot easier to sail than back in the day. They keep
Yeah.
evolving, and as gear gets better, people have an easier time sailing.
Yep. All right. So, what's the best regatta you've had, or the best trip you've been on?
Well, I probably have a couple of favorites. My first Moth Worlds was a really great experience for me. I went to Japan, spent like 3 weeks over there, worked super hard to get ready, dial my boat in, and I had no idea how I was going to do. That was my first Worlds, and I remember thinking, if I get top 10, that would be great. And in the Moth fleet, if you get top 10 at the Worlds, you get to keep
Yeah.
whatever position you got in your sail. That's your
Mhm.
new sail number for the year. Only the top 10 guys in the world can have single digits on their sail. So I just remember thinking, if I get top 10, that'd be epic. But,
Yeah.
I have no idea where I'm going to, end up. And I was always around that 10th place, and I ended up ninth. So that was really cool. And,
Very
people
cool.
in Japan were really friendly. And I stayed with a really cool dude in his Airbnb. Um, yeah, it was really fun. I remember I probably started thinking about riding dirt bikes then, because my Airbnb host had a dirt bike that he used around town, and I remember it was a 250 Honda, and he asked me, "Hey, do you know how to ride motorcycles? Have you ever ridden a dirt bike?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I know how to ride." I had no idea, but I figured, if I know how to drive stick, I'm going to figure this out pretty quickly. So he let me borrow this thing during my stay in Japan. So I was riding a
Dude,
dirt bike from his house to the yacht club. It was epic.
dude, that is so dangerous. I grew up
I
in
know,
El.
and they drive on the opposite side. So
Yeah.
I just kept thinking, I really can't screw this up, otherwise it's going to be a disaster.
Dude, I've ridden enough motorbikes growing up, and then wrecked so many that I've already learned: do not get on a motorcycle. Don't even think about it. Uh,
Yeah.
I did Sunfish Worlds in, I think it was Curacao, a long time ago, and a bunch of us had rented scooters and stuff like that to go tour around the island. And I was like, last time I was on a scooter, I wrecked it, so I got a little three-wheel tricycle thing just to make
Oh, there
sure.
you go.
Yeah, just to make sure I didn't get hurt.
Well, you got to be careful on the turns on those.
Oh, well,
You could flip.
it was the slowest thing in the world, so I wasn't going to get hurt. All right, so what's the worst regatta you've had? Something just stands out, just being completely miserable.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I try to forget those, but um, I think I've had plenty of tough regattas. I think we all have, and I recall that when I was in the optis, I put so much pressure on myself, and even in college, I felt so much pressure on myself that when I got to a big event, I would kind of get nervous and stressed, and I would have a tough event, even though I felt really prepared. I had a tough event, and I think in a lot of opti worlds that happened to me, growing up, and I think with time I've learned that you have a bad one, it's not a big deal. Life goes on, and you're going to be able to race again. You're going to be able to race again, and it's no big deal. So I think I can't recall one particular
And nothing
bad
jumps out.
regatta, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's change on to what's the most interesting thing you've seen floating in the water?
That's a hard question. I remember when I was sailing Optis, one day it was so windy. We were probably 9 years old, and it was like blowing 30 knots, and we were having a really hard time sailing on our own. So we came in and said, "Hey, why don't we go together in one boat and just reach around and get on a plane and haul ass?" And sure enough, my friend Alejandro Salazar and I got on the same boat, and we saw a shark. In Venezuela, there are not that many sharks, and people are more scared than sharks than they are here in America, because here in Miami you see plenty of sharks. Now every time I go freediving or spearfishing I see sharks, but back then I never saw a shark, so that was really, really exciting and scary. Really exciting. It was dangerous, and
And you're a kid.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah, and
And
you're a
I've
kid.
seen some whales in San Diego and in San Fran. That's cool.
Yeah. Yes. Anything that big that could flip my boat when it decides to come up for air, that scares me.
Oh, you know what? Something I've seen that I don't like to see. When I'm sailing moths, when you're sailing a moth, if you hit a plastic bag, you destroy your foils. So when I was sailing here in Biscayne Bay, boy, I was really careful looking at the water, just trying not to run any debris over, because boom, game over. But I have ran a fish over with a moth, and then you see the slices of the fish.
Wow. All right. So what is your best role on a boat? Like, say you're on a J boat or a Melges, or
Yeah.
or even by yourself. It doesn't matter. Are you a driver, tactician, trimmer? What's your role?
I think I really enjoy making a boat go fast and trying to listen to the boat and feel the boat, and I think my best place would probably be toward the back of the boat on the main sheet. I like doing the main sheet, and I think I'm good at that. And I also enjoy doing tactics. I think with the years I've learned how to mitigate risk and manage risk, and also look. I think the compass is really important. You just play the numbers game, and I think probably tactician and main trimmer are my strongest spots in the boat. I've been doing that the most recently also. So
yeah. All right. Well, do you consider yourself aggressive or conservative?
Well, I think throughout my sailing career, I've changed. I think before I was really aggressive growing up, and with the years, I've gotten more conservative. I think I'm, very conservative, if not too conservative sometimes. I've been thinking, why am I getting second and third in all these events, and the win seems rare? And there are other guys that they probably get more like 8th and 10th, but they end up winning more than I do. And I have a theory that it might be because I'm too conservative and I play too much to the middle. And I'm always right there in the mix, but the winning sometimes comes more sporadically than other guys that maybe are more risky.
Yeah.
And but I think I'm conservative, and some people would tell you that I'm probably really aggressive.
Yeah.
All
right. So, okay. Well, what's the best maneuver you've ever pulled off? Like, if you had just one moment where you just passed 20 boats at a mark rounding, or port tacking 100 boats at the start, come up with anything really good?
Yeah. I remember the first race at the Worlds in Bermuda. in the Moth, it was blowing probably 30 knots and really gusty and hard. And I had a great start. I nailed the start, but
Uh-oh.
here I'm back. Usually on the Moth, I'm slow compared to the best guys because I am small, and the ideal weight for that boat is around 90 kilos or 85 kilos, and I weigh 59. So I'm always kind of struggling to keep the pace upwind. But anyway, so I have to nail my starts and I have to nail my boat. So I really focus hard on that. But the first race of the Worlds is blowing really hard, and everyone was kind of holding back, timid, and I just went for it, just right on the line, reaching, hauling ass, great start. And then by the time we were all getting close to Port Leyline, and we're getting ready for our attack, that it's really hard in that kind of wind. Everyone around me was flipping, and I just nailed a beautiful foiling tack, and I thought, oh, this is pretty sweet.
There you go.
That's the one I can remember recently.
All right. Well, let's shift over to America's Cup. Now, I know you sail with and against a lot of these guys that are doing America's Cup programs. What do you think about it? What are your thoughts on it? Do you love it, hate it? Do you like the foiling concept with the monohulls, or, would you like to see more match racing? What are your thoughts?
I like the foiling. I think that makes it really exciting. It also makes it appealing to non-sailors to, kind of check out our sport and what we do. I would love to be involved. I think my experience and skills would fit well within one of those teams. Something I would like to see change in would be, it seems like there's very few sailors on the boat that are dedicated to actually sailing the boat, but they're more dedicated to, turning the handles and creating power. And I think it'd be more fun if you could have a larger team of actual sailors that have to sail the boat, and that would also give more opportunity for guys like me. So those are my views on that.
I gotcha. All right. Now, what do you have coming up in the future? Do you have any future plans for sailing, regattas, or are you just sort of taking it day to day? I know with everything being canceled and pushed back. Yeah.
No, I'm really fired up to go sailing again. I think we're so lucky to do what we love for a living, and
somebody.
Sorry, Zane, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to talk to you.
I know. Sorry. I'm just saying that we're so lucky to do what we love for a living, and I think that I was sometimes maybe taking it for granted before this whole thing happened, and I'm thinking, wow, we're so lucky. I'm so lucky, and I'm dying to go sailing again. And I'm just fired up, and I'm trying to get all my programs going again. And I think that's probably going to happen at a national level first. Do some racing locally here in the U.S. I already started sailing a little bit here in Miami. I did a snipe regatta the other day with my friend Pamela Rose, and that was really fun. It was her first time in the snipe, and probably my third time. And we raced against some really good guys that kicked her ass, but it was fun. And I got on the phone yesterday with a good friend and client of mine, John Somian. We're talking about doing some etchel sailing, and I'm fired up about that.
There you go. All right, so you got etchel sailing coming up, and then you're just ready for it to all kick off.
Yeah, I was doing the J70s and Mulgus 24s and Mulgus 20s, the M32s, and some etchels before this whole thing happened, and I was keeping pretty busy, but I'm hoping that all those things are going to get going again, and try to use this time to, look at it, from the outside and see how I can improve my game when we start again, and try to get fired up again when it gets going.
Yep, I got you. All right, so what are your thoughts on women's sailing? I mean, do you have any thoughts on it, or how we can improve it?
I think I've been seeing more and more girls sailing recently, and I think that's great. I also think girls are really good at sailing, and they're really detailed oriented, and they also seem to have a lot more endurance than guys hiking. Every time I'm in a program, the hardest hiker is the girl, And the most detail oriented is the girl. So I enjoy sailing in a team where we have girls on board, and I think there are some steps being taken to get more girls involved, like the Olympics wants more gender equality, and I think that's all positive. I think we just got to keep encouraging female participation, and I think it's working.
Oh yeah. All right. So, what kind of ideas do you have for growing the sport of sailing? How can we get more people involved?
That's a good question.
Yeah, like the grassroots level. How do we get the person on the street or pedaling by the yacht club on a bike? How do we get them to stop in and actually go sailing?
Well, I think a good way to do it is at a personal level is just invite your friends outside sailing and to go sail with you and show them how fun it is. Some people think it's boring because it's slow. Some other people think it's really exciting, but most of these guys have never been on a boat. So, I think I want to do a better job at taking my friends sailing and showing what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've been taking a couple new people, or people that aren't really new. One of my friends is relatively new to sailing, just started this past year, and I've kind of taken them under my wing, and I'm taking them out a lot. And then I keep running into people that haven't sailed in 20 or 30 years. I'm like, yeah, man, I want to go sailing again. I'm like, well, jump on. And I don't know.
That's cool.
I don't know if it helps, but
of course it helps. I think that helps. And what else do you think we should do for growing the sport?
Like I say, I think just getting more people involved by asking, your friends and family or whoever to get in. But I think, to me, I think there's got to be some way to make it, maybe more marketing or advertising to, average middle class people. I think that might help some too.
Yeah, it is hard to go sailing. Like if you never sailed before, well, I need a boat to go sailing. I need lessons because I don't know how to go sailing. So, there's a lot of logistics, and it's probably going to be a big expense to go sailing for the first time. So, that's a big commitment if you don't know what you're getting into. So I think, inviting people and to go sail with you, whether it's for fun or to do a low key race and give them a chance to experience what we do, I think that's a good way to do it. Then you can get into the argument of how do we make sailing more accessible, with having sailing centers open to the public sailing centers open to the community. And there's one here in Miami that's works really well, the U.S. Sailing Center, and then the Coconut Grove Sailing Club seems like has a lot of members, and maybe take their initiative to try to make sailing more affordable and so more people can do it.
Yeah, there's got to be a way, and I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, there's a lot of people that have opinions, and I ask that question just because everybody's got a different opinion. All right, so what kind of good advice do you have for new people that are, people that are new to sailing or getting in?
I think give it a go and stick with it. Things might be tough at first, or you might seem a little bit tricky, but the more you do it, like any other sport, and the more you understand it and the more you enjoy it, and being out there in the water, there's a feeling of freedom that's amazing. But people that are sailing more and that want to take it more seriously, one big recommendation that I have is try to sail with people that are better than you. Try to sail with people that are more experienced. Ask questions. Don't be afraid of asking questions. There's so many times that I've been told, "You're annoying me. You ask too many questions." Well, I don't care. I'm a pain in the neck, but I'm going to learn.
Yeah.
So, that's one, that's something I believe in. Ask questions. Be curious.
All right. Well, normally that's about the end of my questions, but I got one for you. What do you like on a boat? Are you the loud one, the quiet one?
Well, I think it depends who you ask. If you ask me, I'm going to say I'm quiet until I have to make a point. But I think it's important to have a quiet boat. I think it is important to also have people engaged. So there's got to be some level of dialogue. And, I really believe that there is really important to respect whoever's in charge. You live and die by the captain or the skipper or whoever's in charge. So,
Follow their lead, huh?
Exactly.
All right. Okay. Well, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I just want to say, nice job doing these interviews. It's been fun watching other guys,
Yeah.
and it's fun talking about sailing. These moments that we're all dying to go out and sail, but we can't, unfortunately. Keeps the stoke alive and keeps us thinking about it. So thank you, Zane, and thanks for having me, man.
Oh man, I've been trying to get you on here for a while. I've been thinking
I
about
know
you.
I've been.
So
I know. Sorry
yeah.
it took so long, but
Hey man,
I'm glad that
yeah,
you still want me.
yeah, you got the busy life. I tell you, you're down in Miami. You're, free diving, fishing, sailing moth. Like I say, I follow you on Facebook, and I live through what all you're doing. It just looks like a lot of
Thank you,
fun.
man.
And not to mention all the guitar sessions I see you doing.
Oh
You
yeah,
do a lot.
I'm trying to get better at that. I'm getting better at it. I'm really enjoying that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you seem like you have a lot of fun. All right, well, everybody, this is Zane from Sailing Views. I want to thank you for watching. Victor Diaz de Leon, great sailor, like you say. He has been everywhere, and I'm, happy to have him on here. It's been a while, and I'm happy to have him. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and that's it. With that,
Thank you, Zane. That was great.
all right, and over, out, and bye-bye.
See ya.